The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Welcome, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Welcome back. This is Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And we are here to enlighten and have some fun once again.
Yes.
So thanks for tuning in to anybody that's joining us for the first time and any return guests. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to it. This is episode
number 9, The Divine Connection of Music.
Nice. Well, I'm a fan of music.
Me too.
So this will be a really good one.
I am very much looking forward to this one.
Well, before we jump into it, did you have anything you might want to share from last week?
I do.
Do it.
We have a couple of comments that I wanted to read about last week's episode on synchronicity. And this is from Sherry. She says, this was so good. So great. Sorry. So many great insights. I wish we lived closer. I would love to hang out with y'all and discuss all things spirit. Looking forward to the next episode. Keep up the good work.
Cool. Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry.
Love to hang out too.
Yeah, absolutely. We love to talk about all of this.
Yeah. Cool.
And then this was a comment from Jennifer. She said, I guess I've been living under a rock, but I didn't know about 369. We had talked in the episode a little bit about how they say the key to the universe is found in those 3 numbers or something like that.
Right.
So she said, I got married on 3/6/99. We had 3 kids, 2 born on the 15th and 1 on the 30th. I was born on the 30th and my husband on the 3rd. So cool. Yeah.
Wow.
I love the way those synchronicities
Yeah,
work.
so when she probably heard that, she must have went, whoa.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
I wish I could see those moments for people, you know.
For sure. Yeah, it went like, whoa.
Yeah. Whoa, I never thought about that. That's the kind of emotion that we're going for.
Well, thanks, Jennifer, for that.
Thank you.
Cool. And Sherry, right?
Yes.
For the input and the comments. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much.
What else?
That's all I have.
All right.
Yep.
So I guess we're ready to just jump right in.
I would like to jump right in. Oh, wait, I do have something.
Okay.
I do this every time.
That's all right.
I wanted to give an update on, we had talked in the episode of Synchronicity about that I was looking for a car.
Yep.
And how I felt guided by the synchronicities to go certain places and do things in this process. So when I left off in the story, just to kind of recap a little bit, I had thought that the signs that my dad was sending me had something to do with Ford. But I think that actually what that ended up being was him just guiding me in the direction, not saying you're supposed to get a Ford or contact somebody at Ford, because we did go that route and I looked at the Fords and it just wasn't for me.
Right.
And so I decided after Ford that I wasn't going to continue looking. I was done. I was just going to put the money into my car and fix it up.
Right.
So then the next morning I woke up and I said, okay, I'm just going to say this. If my dad shows me signs today, synchronicities today, I'm going to keep looking. And if my mom shows me the synchronicities today, because I can tell the difference, then I will go with I'll just go with, fixing up my car.
Right.
But I specifically said that one of the signs I'd be looking for was any song by Billy Joel, because one of mine and my dad's songs is Tell Her About It by Billy Joel. So I just said any Billy Joel song is fine. I never hear them. I heard 3 of them.
Wow.
Within 2 hours of being at work. Because I really didn't want to keep looking.
Right.
I didn't.
Yeah, it's not a fun process, really.
But long story short, I did keep looking, and I found the car that I had been looking for. And the things that guided me there were amazing, because I left Simi Valley, and I drove to Thousand Oaks not knowing why I was going there. And I drove around not knowing where I was going, and I ended up finding a car that I didn't even pick. The service manager there, the finance manager, he brought this car up to me and took the wrapping off in front of me on it. And it was the color I wanted.
Wow.
And the stock numbers were my numbers. It was 23268. So you had 22 in there, 26, and then Marina's number is 28.
Right.
Okay. And then my mom's PIN number from her debit cards was on the key,
Right.
the secondary key. And then the price of the car, also the miles per gallon, those were all my numbers.
Right.
And the mind-blowing thing was that the finance manager had sold me a car in Vegas like 10 years earlier.
That's even weirder.
That was, yeah. At that moment, I was like, okay, I know I'm doing the right thing. Oh, and the VIN number ended in 22.
Wow.
So it was just all of these things that pointed me into, okay, this is it. This is the car that I'm supposed to have. I found it.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy.
I remember it reminded me, that whole thing, this experience with you, sparked my memory when I got my car a couple years ago, and they sold it to me without 2 license plates.
Right.
It only had 1 license plate on it. Yet they make you sign a piece of paper that says when you're driving off this lot, you realize that legally you're supposed to have 2 license plates. So I pointed that out. I said, it only has 1 license plate. So they sort of acted like it was an inconvenience.
Well,
We're going to have to order you new plates. Okay, if that's the law.
yeah, then do it.
Yeah, and so I got the new plates, and it's 7SJD485. Okay, so like I said last time in Synchronicities, I see a lot of 7s, 3, 5s, whatever.
Yeah.
But the irony is, so there's 7, which is a lucky number for me. Not necessarily my favorite number, but it's been a lucky number.
Yeah, it comes up a lot.
Your initial,
Yeah.
our last name initial,
Yeah.
my initial, Marina's favorite number, which is 8,
Yeah.
or my favorite number, which is 4,
Yeah.
Marina's favorite number, which is 8, and then 5, which is the day of the month. I mean, the year she was born in.
Right.
Excuse me.
It was, yeah.
So, and this is before all that happened, and I remember getting that license plate, just like I said to my ex-wife when I got the license plates for my previous car.
Yeah.
Same thing. I was like asking her about that. So I pointed it out to you. And this is before any of this happened. I was like, isn't this weird?
Yeah.
So, there's definitely,
there's signs
there.
I let these signs point me in the direction of this car. I completely let them take over. And I said, if it wasn't done by Monday, I was done. And I told you, I said, I heard weekend, just relax and wait for the weekend. And that's when it happened. Right. It was Saturday, and I'm so glad it's over, and I'm so glad that I followed the synchronicities and the signs.
Yeah. Well, good job.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
And I hope that helps some of our listeners to understand how these synchronicities work and how they really can guide you every day.
And you may not notice it right at the moment, but later, or could be moments, could be days, weeks, but all of a sudden it's sort of like, wow, that's interesting. I never really noticed that.
Well, and it's important to point out here, too, that you can look into things too much. Like, I looked into the Ford thing, not thinking that it was just Dad saying, hey, I'm here guiding you, but thinking that it was him pointing me in the direction of getting a Ford. And so those are the types of things that you have to figure out for yourself. But I feel like emotionally I can tell for sure when I'm on the right path of what they're trying to show me. So I knew that Ford thing, that wasn't for me. You know what I mean? I could feel that in my heart. Yeah. And when I saw that car, the one that I bought, I knew that was my car.
Yeah.
I just knew it.
Nice.
Yeah. Hey.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Woo-hoo.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you. So we can now move on to our subject.
Now that we've shared all that.
Yeah.
All right. So are you going to just start with a poll and kind of approach it like that?
Let's do this. Let's say this episode is episode number 9.
Yep.
The Divine Connection of Music. So I did polls, as I always do. And the first question that I asked was, do you listen to music? And you and I had this discussion a while back about how I wondered if that was another thing that all humans have in common, is that we all listen to music, because I cannot imagine my life without it. And I feel like there's so many people like me that I thought everybody has to listen to music, but that's not the case.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing. People don't. Some don't.
87% said that they do. So it's of these people that
Right.
polled. So it's still, a high number. But one of the examples that was given from one of the people that said no is that she has like OCD and ADHD. So when she listens to music, it's like it gets imprinted in there, and then it's all she hears and all she thinks, and it consumes her brain.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she kind of has to avoid it?
She has to avoid it completely.
Wow.
She makes a conscious effort to avoid music. I'm like, whoa.
See, I feel like talk radio, it's funny because here we are talking.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on the topic, but, if I KFI or just one of those kind of news radios, that's what I feel like it does to me. It just like, blah, 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 blah. It's just,
right.
It's kind of noise that's rattling in the brain, and I'm like, oh, shut it off.
Me too. But yeah, I can't listen to people talking. I can, but not like on the radio when I'm listening to music. It's just like, it's a completely different feeling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Music and talk. But yeah, so I thought that was very interesting. And then, let's see.
I'm very grateful that my parents neither one of them were musical per se. They didn't play music, but they listened to music.
Yeah.
And I remember being embarrassed by my mom, and, as a little kid, 5, 6, and she'd have her, hair and curlers and a bandana wrapped around her curlers.
Yeah.
And she'd have the windows down. And K-Earth 101. This is before K-Earth was playing Boston Van Halen, folks. They used to play
now
50s, oldies but goodies.
Yeah, now they play You Can't Touch This and Baby Got Back.
Even
so
worse. Yeah.
It's completely different.
But yeah, so I used to be thoroughly embarrassed and sink down in the back seat. And couldn't stand that music. And the irony is that I love it now.
Yeah.
And I actually love that memory. It's I don't know. It just blows my mind. And my dad was much more into kind of rock and roll, so I got that aspect of it.
Right.
Like for me, I viewed him as like, wow, you kind of listen to some pretty hip music,
Yeah.
So all of which I love today too. You know? So, but yeah, it's. I guess it does have a lot to do with how you're raised.
I think so. Like my mom, she was into like the local band scene, which is kind of funny because that's how I kind of met you, was through the local band scene.
That's true.
But so she always took me to those types of things, and I started going to concerts at a very young age.
Right.
Music was always a part of my life. I'm a dancer from very, very young, so I can't imagine life without it. I really can't. But a couple of things I looked up. One of them said, music triggers our pleasure centers, releasing dopamine, a feel-happy neurotransmitter. It also said that listening to music increases your immune system, and it treats mild depression.
Yep.
And it
can also stimulate an unborn child.
Really?
Yeah, they've studies show that, and I did this with Marina, that would take like jazz or something on headphones and put it on mom's belly,
right?
And they they say you're supposed to, with young children, play like classical and jazz music around them because it really opens their mind.
I bet it does. Yeah, for sure. So then, let's see. The second question I asked was, is there a connection between music and the spirit world? And 93% of people said yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. I absolutely believe this. And it's something that I maybe wouldn't have thought about until my mom passed. But it was one of the very first things that she used to get my attention. And it is one of the major ways that she still communicates with me, other than like when she just sends me pictures or talks to me. But it is. And it's like these songs, sometimes when you listen to them, it's like, I think that they actually, like, the spirits can right through us.
Yes, and that was kind of one of the points I was going to tap on what you're saying, is that some people might be sitting here listening to this going, well, what do you mean? Like, this guy wrote this song about whatever, or we don't even know what they wrote the song about. And, how can it be speaking to you from the other side? Well, just like what you said, I can't even count how many articles or interviews I've seen and read that the artist says, that song took like a matter of minutes
Yeah.
to come out. It was almost like I was the channel for
Yeah.
it to come out. I've heard other musicians say that they believe certain instruments hold songs within them.
That's
And
pretty
that
cool.
if you get your hands on a famous guitar, there are songs that will come out of it.
Wow.
I don't know if I believe that so much, because I feel like if you really work hard enough and try hard enough, you can write a good song, you know.
Sure.
It takes time, you know, but like anything. So, but definitely a connection on that level.
Oh, for sure.
I think those messages, and that's when it became really clear to me, was that yes, they are working through artists from the past, present, and the future,
Right.
to give us messages of hope
Mm-hmm.
and love and peace and understanding, even messages about things that aren't that great either, but I tend to get more from the positive stuff.
Right. For sure. And there's a lot, like I did a little bit of research on musicians that are known to be spiritually enlightened. And of course, there's a few that are obvious probably for most people. Sting is one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe obvious for me, but that's, yeah, he's very into that. Prince was,
Oh, yeah.
Prince is at the top of my list of like, if I could talk to any celebrity and ask them, you know, did you have these abilities? Because if you think about it, his song, Let's Go Crazy,
Mm-hmm.
he essentially predicts his own death.
It's rather prolific. It's weird.
He says, are we going to let the elevator bring us down?
Yeah.
And he talks in that song about the afterworld and how different it is from here. And he died in his elevator.
Talks about the Dr. Feelgood,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that kind of thing. And
Yep.
so,
I believe that he knew that that's how he was going to die. And that song was about, we're not going to let that bring us down now.
Right.
We're just going to enjoy it now. And then when it happens, it happens. And then we go over there. We're fine.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I took from it. But it hit me really hard after he died with that song. I was like, whoa, that's a trip.
it is.
But a couple of other ones.
I think Tupac even says in his song that he's going to die at 27.
I think something
Or
like
26,
that.
whatever
Yeah.
age he dies at.
He
But,
predicted that he was going to
Yeah.
die young. And there's a lot of very strange
yeah.
things like that. But some of the other musicians that are considered enlightened, Peter Gabriel,
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
Lennon, George
sure.
Harrison, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Bono, Pat Monahan from Train.
Yeah.
Pat Monahan, because we went to the Train concert, and I don't think he said this at the concert. I heard this on the radio later, but basically his mom had passed away, and he had a dream one night about Drops of Jupiter, and he woke up basically singing the lyrics and just, wrote it down. And that became a hit song for them. And so he's like, my mom basically wrote this song,
Wow.
And also in Bohemian Rhapsody, I don't know if they meant to portray it this way or if this was maybe something psychically that I picked up. But when they're writing the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody, and you see like Freddie's almost like spaced out, that you can see coming to him.
Like channeling.
Yeah,
Connecting
that
to it.
he's connecting to something.
Yeah.
That's what I took from it, at least. So I think that there's a lot of songs that.
And here's
happens
another
with.
idea or example too is Keith Richards is always, I've heard a lot of interviews with him where he says when he wrote the riff for Can't Get No Satisfaction, that he doesn't remember writing that riff, that he was inebriated probably, but woke up in the middle of the night, had a tape recorder on the side of the bed, just said, I woke up with this in my head and I got to get it down and I'll go back to sleep. You wake up from a sleep with something in your head,
Yeah.
to put it down to go back to sleep. That's like, where did that come from?
Absolutely.
Because you weren't sitting there noodling and playing guitar and working on something. Something woke you up to make you put that down. And that's probably one of their most top-selling songs ever.
Right. Well, and I tell you this all the time, that I don't really remember my readings afterwards. It's almost like because they are talking through me that it doesn't stay in my brain.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what you were saying, that he doesn't even remember that.
Yeah.
So that I definitely like
There's
that.
moments in shows where I wish I could, when I've played live, I wish I could sort of slow that moment down and soak it in.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm too, like, in a trance. So a lot of it's just, like, I don't
Yeah.
notice. I mean, I'm noticing, but I'm totally
Right. You're in your own
somewhere
world.
else
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. But
Yeah.
it's different. It's not like being in, you know, in the audience, watching somebody in the audience being silly or something. You know, it's
Right.
it's more like you notice, but it's not important. It's
I
weird.
totally get that. Yeah, because I used to dance a lot, and it was
But you
the
really
same
want to
thing.
connect with that, you know,
Yeah.
and I do connect with them. I mean, I make sure and to look and feel, but it's sometimes you're just so like,
Yeah,
you know, it's a good feeling.
it is.
Great
It's a
feeling.
pretty incredible feeling. Some of the other ones, a couple of groups here actually: System of a Down and Foo Fighters,
Yep.
Incubus,
Yep.
Muse, and Muse has a couple of lyrics that
That's
in their
good
song
songs.
Uprising. Yeah, it says, if you could flick a switch and open your third eye, you would see we should never be afraid to die.
Yeah,
I love that song.
I do too.
Yeah. And I love music like that. And there's a lot of other music like that that people don't realize.
Yeah.
We had talked a little bit about it last week about the song Connected by Stereo MC.
Yeah.
That was a big song for me when I first hit me. That song was spiritually connected.
Yeah.
I was in the car and I was like, "Whoa, this song was like a party song. It wasn't a spiritual song."
Right.
But if you listen to it,
It's just the beat that makes it feel party.
right. Yeah.
But the lyrically, it's all,
yeah,
it's very much that content.
absolutely.
And I don't know if you remember, I pointed out to you after the John Lennon or Elton John movie, I was going back and looking at some of his old records. I think I went to like his second record, which is one of my favorite, Tumbleweed Connection, I think is the title. And there's a song on there called Love Song.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, immediately you see a song that's titled Love Song. You think it's about
Love.
falling in love
Yeah.
and, you know, being with the one you love.
Right.
And I listened to this song and it's very meditative,
Yeah.
sounding calm, but it has nothing to do with that at all.
No.
It's about love, the power of it, and can you see it? Are your eyes really seeing it?
Right.
I got a way different feeling from that. It was like, this isn't about being in love. This is about being connected.
Right.
And
Yeah.
seeing what it really is.
Oh, I think that he was connected to the other side like that, or is he still alive?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
We should talk about that a little bit, Rocketman,
Mm-hmm.
because that was an amazing movie. Like, I'll be honest, and I've told you this already, that I wasn't really excited about going to the movies that day. It was a nice day outside, and I kind of wanted to be outside. But I was like, whatever, it's cool. I'll go to the movies. And so we're sitting there, and it's just about to start, and I hear my mom say, you need to pay attention to this movie because you're going to connect with this on a lot of different levels. And you know how I am. I'm Stummers. I was like, oh, sure I am. Okay. Right? And which is why I didn't even say anything to you. I was like, okay, sure. But from the moment that movie opened until the moment we walked out of that theater, I cried. Like, seriously. It was so good and it was so emotional. And he's a musical genius and he's been through so much in his life, and it blew me away.
Yeah,
It really did.
Great. It was, you know,
It brings
I
me to tears thinking of
loved Bohemian Rhapsody. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah.
This was better.
This was, yeah.
I know that they kind of stayed away from Freddie's personal life a lot to not offend or, you know,
Right.
smear his reputation, whatever. But they got a lot more into Elton's life
They did.
and his struggles, and it was very sarcastic. You notice when he kind of said at the beginning how he grew up in a perfectly normal family.
Right.
That was like the setting, and then they
Right.
dive into all this crap. But
Yeah.
I was surprised by it being a musical because
Oh,
I'm
that
not
was great.
kind of
love
ironic
musicals.
that me being a musician, I'm not a big fan of musicals per se.
Yeah.
But this was done very well.
Yes.
The actor that played him, I don't even remember the name of the man, but sings all the songs.
Yeah.
So you're just like, wow, I totally forgot that this is an Elton.
Yeah.
You know, I got lost in
I
it.
did too.
And emotional,
Yep.
very emotional. And I felt this man's drive and pull to follow his dreams no matter what. I totally
Yes.
related to that.
I did too, and I think that that was a big message for us in that movie, was exactly that this is what you guys are doing. You're following your dreams, and look, it can be done. It can be achieved. And he had a really messed up childhood, and
Yeah,
I
he
took
did.
a lot from that. Like the scene where his dad walks away, killed me. I started crying. That was it. I was done.
Yeah, it was.
Can't handle this.
It was hard.
But it was very relatable, and it makes you realize that these people are just regular people, just like the rest of us, and they, can be dealt a good hand or a bad hand, and it's what you do with it.
Yeah, I mean, they're just normal. They're to some people they're idols, and but they're heroes, but they're really just normal.
Yeah.
I had a really wild experience after that I'll share with you. So we come home after the movie, and we're talking about it and sharing. I'm feeling really like just energized by
we
it.
both
So
were.
I kind of wanted to get home and just go in the studio and crank some Elton John.
Mhm.
I just really wanted to get lost in it. I honestly, I didn't feel like I was done crying. I
Yeah.
just needed to blast music and feel that. It wasn't sad crying.
No,
it was
not
like,
at all.
It was the divine connection of music,
Yep.
what was happening. And so I was feeling drawn and connected. So I come home, and as I said last week, we've been doing some upgrades, and we had some issues, and I lost a bunch of music on my library, and I had to download some software to try to restore it, and a lot of it got lost, unfortunately, but hey, that's how it goes. Well, the first album that I picked was Elton John, and I wanted to hear The Bitch Is Back.
Mhm.
And so I pushed play, and it's our podcast.
This is so true.
Okay.
I walked in from work, and he showed me.
And I'm like, what? So I go to the next song. Okay, this is just this album that I'm on. I think it was a greatest hits album that I was on. And every one of those songs on that record would only play our podcast.
Yep.
How those two are even connected, I have no idea.
It's so weird.
But anyways, because I don't save them in the same folder, same place, it's just bizarre. But so I then go and check other albums that aren't corrupt or messed up and that will play. And it doesn't do that. It's just the Elton John album that I wanted to hear. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I find another one of his records that I have that's okay. I think it was another greatest hits. And I put on Rocketman. I really wanted to hear Rocketman.
Yeah.
And so I turned that pretty loud, and I was just standing back between the speakers and just emotional, especially after that thing with the podcast. I'm like, okay, now I know that I feel so connected. There's a reason.
Yeah.
They're telling me something.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
And so I'm cranking this song, and I'm listening. And inside of the studio, the ceilings, I have a lot of posters on the ceilings. And one of them happens to be a poster of, what's that guy's name?
Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un on this rocket flying through the air.
Yeah.
And the poster says Rocketman. And I am totally just in tears, standing here with music cranking, and I look above me, and I'm standing right underneath that poster. And so naturally, I was just like, okay, what is the message? And I looked straight ahead. The first thing that I looked at was this Bob Marley picture I have that says, what's my message? Truth, peace, and love.
Yep.
That was, and then at that point, floodgates were open, and I was like, okay, I get it. Does it mean I follow it every second of the day? Not always, but it was definitely me opening myself to go, what is the message? I'm ready to hear it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm in total emotion and tears, but it's as if like you were in the presence of angels or
Yeah.
God,
Mhm.
that you're just so overwhelmed with joy and love and connection that it just comes out as tears. It's not like I was depressed or sad, but it was just unreal.
Yeah.
The whole experience was like, I'm just mind blown.
The whole thing, the movie, the last scene of the movie we were sitting there trying to figure out what song he was going to play. He was sitting at the piano, right?
Yep.
Okay, sitting at the piano, and you could tell he's getting ready to play something, and you're spitting out songs. I'm like, no, he already played that. He already played that. And I had no clue, and I don't know if you had any clue. And all of a sudden, he starts with "I'm Still Standing," which is
Like your favorite.
it's my divorce song. It's my "I Came Back from Hell" song, and took my life back song. It blew my mind. I sat there with my jaw on the ground, like, oh, what is happening? And what I took from it, not just from the movie and from how it made me feel, but also from the story that you just shared, is that they're telling us that we're on the right track with this podcast. That's what I took from that whole thing, and we're on the right path.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know what it was. I just felt like whatever it is you're doing, just keep doing it.
Yep.
You know, and I try even like with my own band, I don't necessarily try to push my beliefs, on anybody, because I don't really feel like it's a religion.
Right.
So I can't tell you here's what to believe in and what to follow.
Right.
And I just share what I feel and what I think, but I try to share that with them. Like, you guys, this is really magical.
Right.
And if we stay on this and not give up and walk away, you're going to see that.
Right.
I can't say how. I can just tell you that feeling.
That's what they're showing
and
us,
this
and
too.
That's the direction that
even with painting and just everything that the kind of little paths that I've jumped on over the last couple of years. I feel like everything keeps saying, "Don't give up."
Yep, just keep on keeping on.
And that's hard to do. Being a human. Every day you're like, I don't want to do this.
No, I want
to get
it now.
Up. Yeah, I want it all now, but this is the journey, and the journey is the best part, because if I got just from A to B with no experience in between, then there's no value to it.
Right.
Just like I couldn't learn how to write. I couldn't write songs like I can write now back then.
Right.
I had to go through all this experience and different groups and things to get to a point where it was like, get it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got power beyond what any of our eyes can see or what even our ears can see.
It really does.
It has power, and I think we've shown that in things like Live Aid and what music can do for people, and not just monetarily but spiritually.
Right.
So
the next question that I asked our listeners was, if you have close loved ones that have passed away, do you ever hear songs that you feel were sent by them as a hello or another message? And 86% of the people that took this poll said yes.
Huh.
This, like I had said earlier, this is the biggest thing for me, that I feel, not just for myself, but for a lot of people, this is how they communicate with us.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people, they take the lyrics too literal.
Yes.
If you have a song that resonates with you, it doesn't matter what the lyrics were written to be about. Example, the song that I used at my mom's funeral is called "Whenever I Say Your Name" by Sting and Mary J. Blige. And I love the song. You never hear it on the radio, so there's like no trigger from it.
Right.
I have to listen to it on my iPod if I want to listen to it. But so if you watch the video for this, it's a love song. It's Sting and Mary J. Blige singing to, what makes them think of each other.
Right.
But I hadn't heard this song until the morning of my mom's funeral, and I was trying to find the perfect song, and I was going through this CD, and that's what I came upon. And that's what it made me feel. It reminded me of my mom. It reminded me of the fact that there are certain things that I'll do in my life that I will think of her. And when I say her name, what it will make me think of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people gave me a hard time because it's a love song.
Right.
So what? What I took from it was it wasn't a love song. So we really have to analyze these for ourselves and not go by what, the
I think maybe the hardest
is,
part for people in that process, what you're talking about, especially if you lose someone, is you don't want to feel all that pain and sadness for because of their absence. So you want to avoid those things. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to avoid the songs and the
Right.
and the tears and all that because you think it's so sad, but right on the other side of that thin veil, it's completely the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And those moments when you are feeling that is when the veil's been sort of moved to the side and the moments of connection are so clear or so strong. It's just hard to kind of hear them and feel them when you're overcome with emotion.
It is, absolutely. But if you do listen to it and you do work with it, like I have over the last 15 years, I now have songs with my mom, my dad, my grandparents that tell me different things that help me through my day. You know what I mean? Especially my mom. She's the strongest one. But like a lot of times if I'm having a bad day, she'll send me songs that remind me of her that cheer me up.
Yeah.
Like Whoomp, There It Is.
Right.
Because she used to make fun of me for listening to that and come in my room and yell at me first thing in the morning for listening to it. So when I hear it, I get all like jazzed.
I love
and
that
then
story.
she loved the song Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe. So that's another one that she'll throw at me.
That's my jam.
Yeah. So I know that those are the songs that she's trying to tell me, cheer up. It's okay.
Right.
But they'll also like, the very first Medium circle that I did, I was sitting outside waiting to go inside, and one of those songs came on that was like, Why Are You Crying? You know, I'm Here With You. I can't remember exactly which song it was, and I knew at that moment that she's like, stop, you're going to be good. So this is what they try and show us with that music. And if we learn to interpret that, we can take those lyrics that maybe for one person means one thing, but for us means something entirely different.
Yeah.
Like, I have songs with my mom because I grew up with her and stuff, but my dad, I didn't. And so we had to establish songs. And it was really cool to do this process with him because I remember the morning that he said, okay, today we're going to establish songs. And I was like, oh, this should be interesting. So the first song that I hear is Father of Mine by Everclear. And it was very descriptive of my relationship with my dad.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's kind of a bummer song, but I understood why he picked it.
He was saying sorry, I think.
Yeah, it made sense.
Yeah.
And then he continued to choose songs that he just thought would make sense to me. Everclear, he stuck with that because they do a song called Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And that's where he lived, was in Santa Monica.
Yep.
But we have established these songs, and it's been a really crazy process. And you don't have to be psychic to do this.
No, and when you think about even the songs that he picked, really, he didn't go that far off. Like, he was picking something going, if you're open to this, it's going to be real easy to see that it's me sharing this with you.
Yes.
Based on, without even reading into what art, I don't even know his last name, singer of Everclear and his issues growing up, but they sounded pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Regardless of his own personal issues, you can relate to his story. And you don't have to know exactly what the artist is speaking about for the other side to be able to speak to you through that.
Right.
It doesn't, you don't have to take the lyrics
No,
literally.
I don't know if you remember this, but there was one day that I was out and I texted you and I said that my dad and I established a new song and that it was Hey Leonardo by the Blessed Union of Souls.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the strangest song.
That is.
But and so I think you watched the video when I said that to you and you were like, what is this? Like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But at first I said the same thing. Why are you picking this song? And then it clicked and it sunk in and it made sense to me. It may not make sense to anybody else, but it makes perfect sense to me. That's all that matters.
Yeah. The connection was made.
It was.
Another interesting point, which I brought up to you earlier in our discussions, because we sometimes have pre-discussions about these, and that's how we come up with topics, like, what do we want to talk about? So, but I pointed out to you about since the 70s, we've launched satellites and things out into space that's blasting our music.
Uh-huh.
I think Rolling Stones was one of the first groups to be put out there. I know the Beatles, and I'm sure there's a lot of other music out there now.
Yeah.
So not only is the other side using it to communicate with us, we're using it to try to make a connection with other life.
Yeah.
And that is their first impression of what type of world we are, is our music. Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
It is, yeah.
So it has to be being used on a universal level, not just a mortal level.
It really is universal. I truly believe that.
You can go back to the Bible, and Lucifer was an archangel, the angel of music.
Yep.
So.
Well, and even when they couldn't record music, like when we go to these Indian reservations and see, they have instruments and all of that because they made their own music. It's just something that's always, I
think it was for them, and I think it still should be this way, is like what I said. It's supposed to put you in some sort of meditative trance that makes it easier for you to connect.
I believe it.
For me, when I get those bumps on my arms, the hairs go up on the neck, and the emotions come, that is part of that trance, of that connection.
And that's a great point, because I did ask our listeners about that. I asked, do you ever get goosebumps or the chills when you listen to music? And do you want to guess how many of the listeners said yes to this question?
0.
100%.
That's awesome to hear.
I have always experienced that.
Yeah.
Always the goosebumps on my arms, and you'd be like, whoa, that's so cool. But since our spiritual awakening, it's not just the arms, it's the entire body. It's we've talked about it before, this overwhelming sense of, this is like one of the greatest feelings ever. That you can just start crying happy tears, and it just completely takes over you. It's amazing. It really is. What music can do to your body, And we have been talking about this, about music therapy. Yep. And you wanted to talk about...
and I think I mentioned this somewhere in another episode briefly, that, some report I saw where doctors in England have now started prescribing music therapy. Yeah. So I think this is something that's been on this planet as a healing property
forever,
for a long, long, long time. And again, one of those things that we shut out. I don't know if that's because it's not a big money maker or people don't buy it, but there's just certain things, these gifts, these natural things that are built into our bodies.
Yeah.
We're trying to shut them out. And this is a perfect example of, and it restores, when you say 100% people said that they get those goosebumps.
Yeah.
And then doctors wanting to prescribe music therapy, it starts to restore my faith in humanity. Like, this world isn't going to be the way we see it right now forever.
Yep. No, I think that we have some hope. I'm starting to see some hope out there for...
It's still scary, but
yeah, it is. It is. But music is definitely something that it has healing properties. I use it to meditate, and I'm not just talking about like the meditation music, you can look up on YouTube with the flutes and all that. I meditate to actual music, because it takes me into the trance, and I get lost, and I'll hear my mom or whoever say, now focus on the piano, or focus on the guitar. And when you pull it apart like that, it even sends you into a deeper meditative state.
Oh, yeah.
And if I'm having a bad day, that's all I have to do is put my headphones on. I mean, you can't go around listening to like sad music and expect for it to cheer you up. You have to listen to the upbeat stuff.
Right.
But I really do believe that it is a natural antidepressant. It is. If you pick the right music, it can change your entire day.
For sure.
I believe that.
And kind of what you were saying about the listening and hearing different things. Even as a listener, before I ever started playing music, when I dreamed about maybe being able to play guitar one day, I got all those emotions and feelings with it, so I knew there was something magical about it. But as I've grown older, it's taken me time to develop the ear that allows me to do it all at once.
Right.
I remember being younger and going, I just really focused mainly on the sounds, the music itself and the sounds, even like what the voice sounded like, but I didn't focus so much lyrically.
Right.
Not necessarily, because I could sing songs that I memorized, that I love, but I didn't really pay attention
to what you're singing.
Exactly I was singing
and
along
what it meant.
with, and what it meant. Or maybe what it meant to me. Right. Now, as I've gotten older, I have this ability I can get lost in that music, but still hear what's being said.
Yeah.
And that's where you're just like, wow, it really does become like this journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when you're kind of in the shower and you're doing one of these meditative things and you're listening to a song you've listened to 100 times, you'll go in and out. So a spot you'll be listening more to the keyboards and the words don't speak to you as much. And then you pull back and come back to the lyrics, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's something there that's said to you like that you kind of maybe needed to hear.
Yeah.
Even for that moment.
Absolutely.
Or some trial or tribulation that's happening in your life. But I don't know. Maybe that's thinking deep, but I'm good at that. And
that's what we do.
And I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, that's Philoso chatter. That's our deep thinking. So the next question I asked was, do you hate certain songs because of what they represent in your life or from your past? And 76% said yes. And I think I certainly have these. I do. I have songs that I hate because of what they make me feel might be coming. I've told you that there's a couple of songs that when I hear them, I'm like, uh-oh, because I worry. One of them is Titanium by David Guetta, because it's like supposed to remind me of how strong I am. I feel like they're sending it to me like, guess what? There's something coming. And I'm like, what? Something.
Toughen up, buttercup.
Here's the song to make you panic. It's true. I haven't heard that song in a long time. Okay. But if I pass out in a restaurant, it's probably because that came out. Okay.
I hope it's been exiled from your playlist.
It has. I don't have it on my phone.
Good.
Period. But another one of them for me is the song Hungry Like the Wolves by Duran Duran. And I used to love that song. And then I read a book about, I'm not going to get into it, but it was a murder book. It was a true story. And it upset me so much what happened in this book that I can't hear that song anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I really used to love it. I've tried over the years to just be like, forget it, put it out of your mind, listen to the song. And that was like 20 something years ago, if not more.
I was telling you earlier tonight that I don't feel like any song in particular I can't listen to because of bad feelings about something. I never feel that way about a song. I feel like it's like a photo album. So any song that I listen to takes me back to a moment.
Yes.
Whether it's the first time I heard that song or something that was happening while that song was playing.
It triggers
something, and it literally takes me back. So I feel like I'm flipping. If I'm just playing random songs here by myself or whatever, even listening to the radio, it's like flipping through an album.
Right.
And I go back to that. So, yes, they might bring me to moments where I'm like, ooh, that was tough. I remember sitting there crying about when that song came on, or this time, I tripped and fell and bumped my head. I don't know what it is, but
yeah.
So, but nothing that I ever go, I don't ever want to hear that song again. I don't have that.
That's good.
I don't have a
song. I
song.
don't know that I have it that extreme, but like my brother, he's like that with My Immortal by Evanescence.
Oh, okay.
Because that was one of those songs that came out shortly after, or actually before Mom died. And it's such a heavy song that it instantly makes him cry.
Right.
For me too, it's really heavy, but that if I asked him this question, he would definitely say that song. So I think that you have that, like you said, it's almost like a flashback.
Right.
And if it triggers a bad memory, then it's a bad feeling for the song. Music has that ability to just trigger so much within us.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
Super powerful in that way.
And then my next question, which is my last question that I asked, goes kind of along with that. Do you ever have the rush of emotions from a song because it takes you back to a certain time in your life, almost like feeling the memory as if it's happening again?
Right.
I have that so much. I don't know about you, but that happens to me a lot. It does. And so today I was actually, I was listening to the music on my phone, and I said, if there's any songs that the other side would like us to use for this show or anything they want to point out, to show me. And one of the songs that I got almost instantly was I'll Be There by the Escape Club.
Right.
And this is one of those triggers that it brings back of a big rush of emotions for me, because I went the day after 9/11. I was living in Las Vegas, and so I went to UNLV for this candlelight vigil, and they played that song, and it was so emotional. It has stuck with me since, that when I hear that, it's like almost instant crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely some songs I will put on if I'm in a mood where I just like, I need to let it out.
Totally.
But that can happen just when I'm not even really expecting it. And it's not coming from a sad, I mean that like when I want to be sad.
Right.
But when it happens in most other instances, it's not really sad. It's just like this overwhelming presence.
Right.
You could call it God. You could call it, the angels on the other side, or the Holy Spirit, or whatever. But I feel like that warm blanket wrapped around you. And it's, even though there's tears, there's comfort. One of the first times your mom ever communicated with me through song, it may have been the first time. I remember I was driving and I had to pull over to tell you, because there was synchronicities happening like on the radio with numbers. But and I took pictures and showed you, but the song was ironically Billy Joel. I Love You Just the Way You Are.
I remember that. Yeah.
And to a lot of people, you'd hear that song and you would think, oh, it's a love song.
Right.
But again, not necessarily.
No,
and some of the lines in it were just like, when are you going to believe in you the way I believe in you?
Right.
I may not be reciting the lyrics perfectly right, but those kind of things.
Yep.
And like not into like cheap conversation. It's
right.
Like, it was just all of it spoke to me so heavy. Like she was trying to get through to me. Like, don't worry.
Yeah.
You're okay. I love you.
Right. And I think that spark of emotion a lot of times is kind of set off by them, if you know what I mean. It's like, it's a way for them to grab our attention.
Oh,
It's like, I had mentioned this in one of the other episodes about the song Happy by Pharrell Williams and how I started crying with that when it came on the radio. Okay, that is just, to me, it's like, why did that happen? Right. But I really feel like it was a knock, from my mom, like, you have the potential of being this happy in your life. And here, I'm going to show you a little bit of that feeling. And that's kind of like, it's kind of like a sign to just, say you're on the right path.
Absolutely.
And music really has that ability to transport you somewhere else emotionally. It can be such an overwhelming feeling.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it can make you feel emotions that you didn't even think that you were capable of. Like, I'll have some days where I think I'm, not going to cry that day. Like, and then I'll be putting my makeup on and I'll hear, don't put a lot of makeup on. Why? Because I'm going to cry? No, I'm not. And then there's just a song that like will trigger me like that for whatever reason, bring up something from the past, an old memory or whatever. It's just amazing what music has the ability to do for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It saw on the Facebook feed today or last couple days about the fire at Universal coming out.
Sucks.
Well, the fire that happened 10, 11 years ago, that all these masters, they said something like 500,000 titles. That means 500,000 songs were lost.
Gone.
Master reels of just like some of the most amazing albums. Nirvana's Nevermind, gone.
Yeah. Sucks.
And that's just one. There were so many. It was just, it made me think about people like Beethoven and Bach, guys that never got a chance to actually record their own music.
Yeah.
And how lucky we are, especially with this age and the digital age, that if you create something on that level that can be played back through speakers, it's here until the end of the world, basically.
Yeah, and there's so many ways to get it out there nowadays,
Yeah.
too. So many different channels for that.
Yeah.
It is.
That's our goal, is once, we're done, is just share it, get it out there, and try to do the same thing to people that I have done to me when I turn on the radio and listen to songs. Is I want to move people. I want to raise the,
raise the vibration.
Raise the vibration. I want to raise the hair on their arms and open their mind a little and let them feel something, even if it has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Right.
Just connect to it somehow and to them,
Yeah.
So, well, we got about 5 minutes left here.
Yeah.
Do you want to share anything?
Sure. That was a good episode, I think. Yeah.
I love music.
Me too. I really was like, I know I'm going to have maybe too much information to talk about because I could have just gone. I could
talk about this one for more than an hour easy,
Absolutely.
But we won't torture you because I would love to get in all these albums and things.
I know, right?
I wish I could sit here
listen to this song.
Play whatever song we wanted to.
Me too. Listen to this now. Now listen to this. What does this make you feel? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So anyways, guess what's coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend?
What?
That is the Health and Healing Expo at the Hyatt Westlake Village.
Cool.
And I have a reader's table there. So you can come and see me there June 23rd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm doing 15-minute readings. They're $30. And you come in and get a reading from me. That would be lots of fun.
Check it out. It's cool.
And they have a lot of different things there. They have like yoga in the morning and different lectures and the exhibit halls with all kinds of things about health and wellness and healing. And
nice.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I really am.
It sounds cool.
Yeah, and if you want, you can get more information on that at healthandhealingexpo.com.
Cool.
Yeah. And then for us, if you would like to follow us on social media, we have a Facebook page and a Instagram page that are you can find us at Spiritual Joneses, and then our Twitter is at Spiritual Jones. That's my favorite. And then, of course, we have an email address where you can send us your show ideas, your comments, your questions, whatever you have, and that is
music.
Yes, music. That would be great too. And that is spiritualjoneses@gmail.com. And then if you would like more information on my reading business, you can find information on that on Facebook at Beyond the Bridge 11, or my website is SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
There's the lowdown.
And what about you, sir?
Oh, okay. Well, if you're into art, I do art, paint, and drawings and whatnot. You can see my stuff on Facebook and Instagram right now at D Jones Art Collection for Facebook and hashtag D Jones Art Collection for Instagram. Still working on the website. Coming. Have that coming soon. And if you like music, play in a band called Gypsy Brown, and you can find us also on Facebook and Instagram as well. I think Instagram is hashtag Gypsy Brown Music, and then Facebook just Gypsy Brown, but make sure you're spelling the Brown with an E. You can check out some of our music. We have a lot of exciting things happening, swirling, and working on, so can't wait to share that. Wish it could have shared it on the music episode, but maybe we'll revisit the music episode again.
Oh, yeah, I would love to.
We are going to play a song tonight. We're going to share another of Adam's songs, who is the writer and performer of our theme song. This song is called Man in the Jungle, and I performed on it with him from the same sessions as the theme song. And this is Rob Brown on drums, Sean Davis on the bass, myself on guitar, and Adam Goodale singing and guitar. It's called Man in the Jungle. You can check out Adam's stuff at Goodale Arts on Facebook, and I think Damn Goodale on Facebook also. So we hope you enjoy the song, and we hope you guys have a great week.
Yes, we are looking forward to next week.
Yes, thanks for tuning in this week. We really appreciate it.
We do. Thank you.
Everybody have a wonderful week. Take it easy and
Peace and love.
There's a man they call Limey. He lives by the waterfalls of Chigaway. His house is made of thatch and jungle cut poles. In his garden he grows mango. I remember when he was just a young man. I would see him working on the beach. Crystal blue water, beautiful sky. Smoking Rasta